We're so excited to talk to you because this means we get you for Texas Frightmare Weekend, and you've been here a bunch before, and it's always so much fun, and the fans are so great, and it's probably one when they ask you to come, like, oh yeah, I got to go.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows. And
Hmm.
not just because of the money. The money's fantastic, but I do a lot of shows and this one is run so well. The venue is great, the hotel is great. Everything about it's an easier trip, which always
Yeah.
factors into it, because I, I've been trying to avoid doing like overseas conventions just because it's such a hassle to get there. Coming to Dallas is easy. I live in Park City, uh, and as you know, and it's pretty easy to get here. I unfortunately was in New Jersey right before here, so it wasn't quite as easy, but yeah, happy to be back.
Well, and of course, one of the cool things, and you've been doing these conventions for years, but in the last few years, we've seen you get back in the Jason costume and even in the Victor Crowley costume before. But this time, people get a couple of different times to see you as Jason, a couple of different iterations. So that's got to be kind of fun to revisit. A little bit of a pain, probably, but kind of fun.
Right. And, it's a little difficult, but when I have somebody like Devlin here, Tom Devlin, who
Yeah,
has built some of the costumes and they look amazing. And, I kind of avoided it for a while doing a
yeah.
costume photo op because I thought it was, exploiting the character maybe or looked like I was desperate, which, was unfounded, really. But then when I realized how excited the fans get, it's like I'm not just doing it for the money, it's making people happy and people that choose to not do it because they want to protect the integrity. I'm like, yeah, you're kind of screwing the fans over at the same time. So that's why we've been doing it.
I mean, if you think about it, you probably would have loved to have seen Bela Lugosi in his full Dracula outfit, or any one of these
Exactly.
things, if they would have been willing to do it, or if they would have been able. So,
Right.
I know from seeing you in that costume, it's an absolute thrill and so scary too.
I barely ever kill anybody while I'm in costume though
Yeah,
at the
but
at the conventions.
but I have seen you put a hand on a throat. In fact, it happened to me once, and I think the look of fear was definitely in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that used to be kind of my thing at conventions was to
Yeah.
choke people with my hands. And, then some legal stuff happened and I'm not able
Oh
to do it
no.
anymore. But
Yeah.
there's always
Somebody's
somebody,
got to
yeah,
ruin it for everyone.
yep, yep,
Well, it was fun while it lasted, but hey,
right.
what's interesting is I think a lot of people have been looking up to you as well too, and they come to these conventions and they see the fun part of it, people just adoring you all weekend, and then all the great stuff that you've done, but there's some incredibly hard work that goes into it, and also some hurt, that we've seen in your documentary. So when people ask for your advice, yeah, I want to do what you do. What do you tell them?
Well, I mean, if they literally are talking about they'd like to do horror movies,
Mm,
I typically say I wouldn't, confine yourself to that kind of film. If you want to
mm,
be an actor, any successful actor will say that they love playing all kinds of characters. Like, obviously, I'm known for violent, silent killers. But when I get the opportunity to do something new, like I did, the movie at The Activated Man with Tony
yeah.
Todd. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, he died right before it came out.
Yeah.
But I went to the screening and I love that movie because it's a little bit of a departure for me because it's more of a thriller. I classify it. I don't know how they,
Hmm.
promote it, but I think it's more of a thriller with kind of an intelligent storyline that you have to pay attention to. And that's not
Mhm.
often the case in, slasher films. You don't have to really pay attention. You're just enjoying the action and stuff. But
Mhm.
it's the probably the most dialogue I've ever had in a film too. And
Yeah.
when I have a scene toward the end with the guy that plays my son, and it's a 5 minute dialogue scene just between him and I. So the point is, any actor likes to do other stuff than what they're known for. I am investigating doing a couple of comedies, um,
Yeah.
which would be fun. And when I look on my IMDb, I'm reminded of movies from, 90s and stuff where I played characters that were totally different. And I almost forget about those because it was only a day or two as that character and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. But yeah, when I tell people all the time, if you have a dream, I mean, it sounds corny, but go after it. That's what I did. I mean, I wanted to be a stuntman and I knew nobody in the business, had no kind of connections. I dropped out of college, which I know disappointed my dad, to pursue trying to be a stuntman. And, it took forever and I really had to bust my ass for a long time, but it worked out. And then, the horror thing came around because of people like John Beekler and, it just made it that much better. Was, by the time I played Jason the first time, I was successful in my stunt career. So that was already satisfying. And then you get a chance to play a character that you've loved watching over the years. I mean, that's a dream come true, man.
Oh, and you'll like this. So my co-host is Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary and went in the Hall of Fame. And so we got to ask you your Hail Mary moment, which is that moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
Yeah. And by the way, Drew Pearson is your co-host, you said?
It is, yeah. He's the
Wow.
best, and he
That,
has been for 13 years now. He's
that's
wonderful.
fantastic. You got to
Hmm.
punch him in the head for me,
Ah!
or I'll
Oh
do it.
no, yeah,
No, but I mean, a friend.
yeah, yeah.
But there was, it just reminded me of an old stupid joke
Uh,
that I heard many years ago.
all
A
right.
guy, a guy walks up to the urinal to take a piss. There's a guy standing next to him at the urinal next to him, and he looks at him and says, "Are you Drew Pearson?" And the guy says, "No, I just started."
Uh,
It's such a stupid joke, but I've always remembered that.
love it. So, what was that moment though, where you were just kind of like, "All right, I'm doing this. Go for it."
Uh, the very first of those moments was going to Universal Studios. And I was always infatuated with being on the back lots and stuff like that. I went on all the tours before I started doing any of it. And I saw the Wild West stunt show. And I don't know if it's still an active show at Universal, but I watched it. And that was the moment I said, that is what I want to do. I just want to do fun, crazy, daring, dangerous things and succeed and not, get injured if I can help it. And that was the moment. That's when I decided that was in between semesters of college during the summer. And I said, that's what I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I told my parents I was going to take a semester off from college and investigate it, see how difficult it is, it's incredibly difficult because with stunts, there's no auditioning process. You can't like audition for like an acting role that you could do. And if you get it, you could make it big. That's not how the stunt business works. You get hired because you're known for something. And how do you get known if you can't get hired? So it's really tricky. I took the semester off and just loved the idea of it and just kept pursuing it. Never went back to school, which, like I said, disappointed my dad. And then shortly after that is when I got burned doing a fire stunt and
Mhm.
nearly died from it, was in the hospital
Mhm.
5.5 months.
Mhm.
And my dad was around for all of that. He was around for me to not get my college degree,
Mhm.
to get burned and almost die. And then after I finally recovered and got back to work, uh, unfortunately, he died. So he never got to see any of the success that I desperately wanted to show him. See, Dad, I told you I could do this. And it's just kind of a cruel thing in life that he wasn't able to see that I had made the right choice. My mom did, and she loved it. And she used to wear in the summertime a big heavy jacket, a crew jacket from Part 7 that had the big hockey mask on the back. Uh, and Friday the 13th here, and it said Jason's mom stitched into the jacket, and she wore it all the time, just so people would say, "What does that mean?" Well, let me tell you, she loved it. I just wish my dad had been able to experience some of it, but that's
Yeah.
how life goes sometimes.
Yeah, but you're a fighter and you've always been fighting your way through everything and still do. And part we talk about that on the show, that success mindset or that drive that you have to have. Is there something that you tell yourself that kind of keeps you on the right path always?
Regarding the career or
Yeah,
just
or
life?
just when you're just in life, it's just like when you wake up or when you go onto a set, you're like, all right, here we go. And what do you
Yeah,
tell
I
yourself?
mean, and just if I'm going to take a job, I like to go after it with as much enthusiasm as I can. I decided to take this job, so let's make it as good as possible. And I do remind myself, I survived that burn injury. Now don't fuck it up. Sorry if this is a family show, but don't fuck up everything when you survive something so devastating. Make it a positive thing and you know, keep succeeding. And that's why I go visit burn units and stuff because I know how it feels to be in the position they're in. And I've had very good success with, motivating people to keep fighting because a doctor telling you is one thing, but they don't know how it feels. When you can talk to somebody that's been there and does know, you'll talk to them all day long just to ask questions about what to expect and stuff. And so, I'm not going to I'm not going to make any more stupid choices when I barely survived to continue this career. So,
Well, and before we let you go, we got to find out what you're gonna looking forward to doing here in Texas. You get some Texas centric things, some beer, some barbecue, anything you look forward to doing or seeing because you've been here a bunch, so you know where to go.
I do. And honestly, I love the restaurant in the hotel. I always have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's where I typically go. I don't venture out very
Yeah.
often because I know all the people there from just from last year, which tells me that people are happy at that
Oh
job
yeah.
if they're there for years and years. So, it's kind of a familiarity. I walked in last night to sit down and the bartender remembered me and
Yeah.
two of the bartenders and one of the bar backs and one of the servers and so it just I do enjoy Texas because you probably know I've been doing the
Oh yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre game
Yeah. Hmm.
and I did the Friday the 13th game, and when I say did it did the motion capture for Jason on Friday, for Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw game,
Mhm.
and just last Monday with the same company, we started a third game. So can't talk
Excellent.
about it, but keep an eye.
Yeah.
It'll
That's so cool.
be amazing. But so I have a big connection with uh, Texas. And in fact, as a stuntman, the very first movie I ever went on location for any length of time was in El Paso, and it was a movie called Lone Wolf McQuade with Chuck.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. I spent like 6 weeks on the movie and loved it. I played one of Carradine's bad guys, fought with Chuck,
Yeah.
and he is one of the class acts in this business, Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Never, I can't imagine somebody having something bad to say about the guy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, anything else we need to know about before we let you go?
Uh, just keep an eye out for a different kind of comedy.
Good.
I'm also not supposed to talk about that yet, but
Okay.
it will, horror fans will love it
Oh,
because it
good.
includes me and someone else, ideally, that in horror. Watch for the
Awesome.
comedy and watch for the new video game. You'll be shocked when you hear what it is.
Can't wait. And of course, we can't wait to see you this weekend. We're going to tell everybody to come and say hi to you, get something signed, get those great photo ops that you can't get anywhere else. And always a pleasure to talk to you and look forward to seeing you at the show.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you as well, and I appreciate you bringing me on.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon, Kane. Okay.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.
Bye.